freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your round two recap for this week's WM Phoenix Open. And joining me to break it all down, Greg DuCharme is here. Hey, Greg.
Hey, Rick. Great to be here again. Another great tournament. I tell you, this one, it has a buzz to it. It's a fun event, not just the party, but just the style of the course this week. The fans are a big part of it, as always. And the players that we have on top of the leaderboard, it's been great so far. I've really enjoyed it.
It's been awesome. And the man who is atop the leaderboard, Sahith Theegala, who had himself a full day, Greg. We're going to get into that full day in just a second, but he's playing on a sponsor exemption. We were just doing a little research before we went hot. I think the last guy to win on a sponsor's exemption was Adam Scott in 2003 at the Deutsche Bank. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but we are heading into uncharted territory if he were to kind of close this out with 36 to go.
It doesn't happen very often, and it's been great play by him so far. I don't know if he's going to seal the deal. I mean, we're so far away from that. It's hard to even consider it, but we're really far from a Vince Carter.gif, right? I mean, This is there's a lot of golf left. And when you look at the names on this board, if he were to win, it would be, quite frankly, more impressive that he beat these players than the fact that it's a sponsor exemption. I mean, he was the number one amateur in the world, which is great. And he's an extremely talented player, but to beat the guys behind him, and you have Sahith Theegala on top, and then the next three names on the board, Brooks Koepka, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay.
Yeah.
And then let's follow that up with Adam Hadwin, who I just claimed that I'm done with.
Yep.
And Taylor Gooch, who just won, Max Homa, who has won a couple of big events on tour. So he's up against it, and it's going to be difficult for him to get the job done, but he's played great so far.
Yeah, our friends over at Caesar Sportsbook have him at 7.5 to 1, with all of Brooks Koepka, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay having shorter odds than he does. But let's talk about this full day, because he actually had to finish his round one on Friday morning. He was about 10, 12 feet away on his second to last hole of the day, which was the 8th hole, when play was suspended due to darkness in round one. And he missed that putt for par, Greg. So he bogeys 8, he bogeys 9, and then has to start his second round just about a half hour later. And I got to be honest with you, I thought this was very easy. This would have been very easy for him to eject out of this golf tournament, right? It would have been very easy to go bogey to finish your round one, sleep on what was basically a lead, and not play well. Shot a 64 on Friday, 7 under, one of the best rounds of the day. I was pretty impressed with that bounce back.
Well, especially what he did on 1, 2, and 3, right? You start off with 3 birdies right in a row, and then you make another 3 at the 4th, and another 3 for birdie at the 5th. So you go 3, 3, 4, 3, 3. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good bounce back from a couple of bogeys early in the morning. But that is a really early start, right at 7:15. I was looking at sunset and sunrise today. 7:15 was sunset. His tee time this morning was 7:15. You're warming up in the dark. I mean, that's not easy. So you give him a little bit of credit, but I really like the way he bounced back. I agree with you. But here's the thing you got to watch for with Sahith. He will have a tendency, if anything, he'll get a little squirrely off the tee, and he'll lose control of his tee shots. And I've heard a couple of interviews with him talking about just that, how he has a great attitude about it. But the trouble that he will have is putting the ball in play off the tee. And tomorrow, playing with Brooks Koepka in the final group, with a chance to win a PGA Tour event on the most rowdy day in golf, crowd-wise, that driver is going to be put to the test pretty much right away.
Yeah, no offense to Etienne Papineau and Jeffrey Kang, but the pairing that he's got on Saturday with Brooks Koepka seems a bit more intimidating, Greg.
Carries a different weight to it, right? I mean, and Brooks isn't a guy that's going to give you any hints. He's not going to walk you through it. He's not going to hold your hand by any means. He's there to beat you, and as badly as he possibly can. So that's what he's up against, and it's going to be tough. But I really like this kid. I really like his attitude. I really like his approach. He seems to be grateful. He seems to be appreciative of the opportunity, and he's just flat out talented. So I'm really excited to see how he handles it. My expectations are not high. I kind of expect this 2-shot lead to dwindle, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was quick, but I'm rooting for him. That's for sure.
To put this into perspective, the ace that Tiger Woods made at 16 in 1997, the clip they've been showing all week long, Sahith was born 10 months after that moment. So that's a little bit of perspective on how young.
Yeah, nice comfy 9-iron for him.
Yeah, nice comfy 9-iron for him. That's exactly right. All right. The rear view mirror. Oh, mama. Brooks, Koepka, and Xander Schauffele lurking. Let's talk about Brooks first and foremost, because he is the favorite at the midway point, according to our friends over at Caesar Sportsbook, plus 333, and it's back-to-back 66s for Koepka. Kyle and I talked last night about kind of the big question mark that Brooks was entering the week with his recent form, but seemingly healthy. Greg, we're not seeing him do that like spider leg kick when he's reading putts so much anymore. Seems to be getting healthier, and my God, he hit some shots over the first 2 rounds that were piercing. Some impressive golf we've seen thus far.
He has been working on the driver, getting his driver under control, especially at a place like Torrey. Now, yesterday he only hit 6 of 14 fairways. Today he was able to hit 9, so that seems to be getting a little better. But what I love is what he's done with his iron play. 15 greens yesterday, 17 today, 10th strokes gained approach yesterday, 5th today, which is 3rd for the week. Yeah. And I was doing a little looking on this, Rick, which, by the way, I have an idea for your site we can talk about offline.
Okay.
Another one. So I'm giving you more work. But I looked at Brooks Koepka's wins on the PGA Tour and what he gained approaching the green. And it's pretty impressive. In 2015, here at the Waste Management, he gained 3.62. 17 U.S. Open, he gained 8.47. 8.08 in the 18 U.S. Open. 5.89 at the PGA in 18. 9.53 at the 19 PGA. In Memphis, he gained 3.22. That's his lowest. And last year here, he gained 6.09. So far, he's gained 4.7 in the first 2 rounds approaching the green. When he plays well with his irons, and he's not a Morikawa, he's not a Tom. I wouldn't have looked at that for Justin Thomas or Colin Morikawa because they put up numbers like that whether they win or lose. But Koepka seems to pop with iron play. It's not as consistent as a lot of guys that you're used to seeing who are great iron players, which is kind of unique. But when he has that under control, he's really hard to beat. So I think his recipe for success is coming to fruition so far. And when he gets in contention, he doesn't go away very often. So he's definitely earned the spot of being the favorite here, even though he's 2 shots back.
2 shots back, 10 under par. That's the same score that Xander Schauffele will begin the weekend at. He goes 67-65 over the first 2 rounds. It's 4-1 at Caesar Sportsbook. And Greg, he might have left 5 shots out there on Friday. It just seems like a 65 was the worst score he could have possibly shot today.
And he did have kind of a frustrated look.
Yeah.
He didn't look too happy. He left a lot of greens kind of rolling his eyes and wandering. He hasn't been great with the putter. He's right a little better than even. I mean, he lost less than he lost 0.084 today. So he's 49th right now in strokes gained putting. He's only made 136 feet of putts for the week, and he's two back. So looking at the model, that's a really good sign. Yep. But the thing I'm most interested about with Brooks is his comments leading into these tournaments. And there's been a big change in tone, Rick. He's saying, hey, my world ranking is embarrassing. Mm-hmm. And my performance in non-majors has been not good enough. And that's a real big change of tone. I think he's starting to realize that to reach number 1 in the world, you can't rely on 4 tournaments a year. You have to compete consistently throughout the year. And that effort is important to me. I think that's going to be a real big factor. I've always equated Brooks's success to his effort. When he puts in a lot of effort, when he cares, when he takes things seriously, he wins. When he doesn't play great. So if he's putting more care into it by that logic, you're going to see him perform better throughout the year. It hasn't come to fruition yet, but this week it's definitely looking like it.
Patrick Cantlay, 9 under par, 1 shot back of those guys at 10, 3 shots back of Sahith at the top and alone in 4th place, 67, 66 over his first 2 rounds. And Friday's was a bogey-free 66. There was some vintage kind of Cantlay out there. It felt more of, remember that stretch of golf where he had like 21 consecutive rounds in the 60s, and he was just a lot, we joke about Bryson saying par is 68 at the Masters, but like par has been basically 68 for Patrick Cantlay for the last couple of months. So he's right there in the mix again.
The thing you like about him is there's so many different ways he can do it. We've always thought of him as a great ball striker for a long time. But lately, the last couple tournaments, it hasn't been great. I mean, the wedge play especially has been subpar. And he's lost strokes approaching the green in his first 2 rounds, but he's made up for it on the greens. In round 1, he was 2nd in the field, strokes gained putting. In round 2, he's 1st. So now typically, as we've talked about all the time, that's not the model. And if Patrick Cantlay had this profile and a different name, he would be on the fade side of the model. He'd be the guy that you think is going to have a collapse. But because of his talent and his ability and his history of being a great ball striker, there's a chance that turns around. And so now the hot putter looks a whole lot more appealing. It doesn't look like something that's, oh, well, this is going to wear. This is just 2 kind of fluky rounds. That's going to wear out under pressure. I don't feel that way with Cantlay. So he's an interesting case. I don't feel as confident in him as I do in Koepka or Schauffele for that matter. But I like what I'm seeing on the greens. And I think it carries a little more weight with Cantlay than some of the other players that you see on top of leaderboards on Friday night who have great putting performances.
Our 36-hole leader, Sahith Theegala, is looking to lock up a job for the next couple of years. He can do that with a victory. If you are looking to lock up a job for the next couple of years, maybe LinkedIn Jobs is for you, and it's good for the job creators as well. You can post a free job in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs, and you can reach a network beyond your wildest imaginations of over 770 million people. You can focus on candidates with the right skills. Sahith has had the right skills so far through 36, still 36 more to go. And it's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors. So LinkedIn Jobs helps you find candidates you want to talk to faster, like the Greens at TPC Scottsdale. Did you know every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/first. That's linkedin.com/first to post your first job for free. Obviously, terms and conditions do apply. Greg, let's look at some guys that are going to be making moves on the weekend. We have not mentioned Jon Rahm to this point, so I will break that streak, and I will mention Jon Rahm, who's currently sitting in a tie for 23rd, and we've seen Rahm play a lot of good golf over the last year, but what he has not done over the first 2 rounds is putt. He is 5th in this field in strokes gained tee to green. He's losing 3 strokes on the putting surfaces. It's actually kind of shocking to see him putt that poorly. That's the type of model from a type of golfer who could get hot and could make a run. He might be too far back to win this, especially with the names at the top of the board. So it might not be a hoisting trophy Sunday for Rahm, but I certainly think the direction he's headed on this leaderboard is up.
So he's 7 back of the lead, right?
Yeah.
He's had 65 putts through 2 rounds. I mean, total putts doesn't really mean a whole lot. We rarely look at total putts, but he had 32 putts yesterday. And today you're expecting that to turn around, right? I mean, he can't putt that poorly again. Well, yeah, he did. He had 33 putts today. So that's extremely frustrating. And it's not fun when you can't get the ball in the bottom of the hole. So he's 7 back. But if you look at a player, let's say what happens with Sahith Theegala is what we expect, where he kind of falls back a little bit, right?
Yeah,
say
the real lead. Say the real lead is 10 under. Just say
it. The real lead is 10 under. I'm not coming at you, Sahith. I'm just saying what we've seen in the past, the trend that we've seen, this has very little to do with Sahith, except for the fact that he's unproven. Typically, unless you have one of these top dogs we've already talked about, a Cantlay, a Rahm, a Thomas, one of the guys who are prolific winners with a 2-shot lead. I always look at the guy next, because it's likely, and pattern shows, that these guys usually don't run away with it. And if he does,
ask
it's his
Seamus
control.
Power. Ask Seamus
Right?
Power how a 5-shot lead on a this time last week, how a 5-shot lead went.
Exactly. So it often doesn't go very well. And so if Jon Rahm is only 5 back and he's putted this poorly, we're in a situation where this can go one of two ways. One, Jon Rahm has a problem with the putting. I heard his press conference from after yesterday's round, not after today's round. And he didn't seem to be upset about it. He, 1 3-putt on 17 was from 80 feet. He was upset about the 3-putt on the par, 13? He was upset about that 3-putt. But he said, other than that, they just didn't go in today. And I think that's a great attitude. But when that starts to happen day over day over day, it can get really frustrating. So I think he's a very curious case, and he's also very, very frustrated. And quite frankly, Justin Thomas has been has kind of a similar profile right now.
Yeah. Is there anybody else? I was kind of looking through some of the stats, and there's some interesting names that are kind of, page 2 of the leaderboard, page 3 of the leaderboard. Is there anybody else that you would expect to kind of make their way towards the top of this thing over the next round or two?
Well, again, this is really interesting. So the guy on my list is another big name, which I'm sorry to do this, but it's Jordan Spieth. And the reason for that is his success on Saturdays. I mean, he has been a prolific Saturday player. It was here at this tournament, I believe, on Saturday, where he shot 61 last year. Just last week, it was a 63. And I think sitting at 3 under par right now, it looks like a long way back. And there are a lot of players between him and the lead. But if the real lead is 10 under, sorry, Sahith. If the real lead's 10 under, he's 7 back. He can make that up. And I'll tell you why. When you have a firm and fast golf course, like we do this week, which is awesome, there's a bigger advantage for playing in the morning than there is the afternoon. The course gets harder throughout the day because it gets firmer. And so having a lot of guys between you and the lead isn't always a bad thing, because you get an earlier tee time and you can take advantage of some earlier morning conditions. And as the course gets firmer and faster throughout the day, you have a chance to generate a little momentum. You can handle that, and you can make up ground. So I really like the setup right now for Spieth. And he's not going to give you, of the guys at 3 or 4 under, he's not going to give you the best odds, but I really like where he sits, and I think he has a chance. I think he's still informed to catch fire tomorrow.
All right, Sahith, buddy, we're rooting for you. Go out there and shoot something low on Saturday, and we'll be back after the 3rd rounds to break it all down as after the 4th. But for now, big thanks to producer Jacob doing all the hard work behind the scenes. That right there is Greg DuCharme. You can find him on Twitter at TheRealGFD, and you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut, and we'll catch you next time.